Hi, my name is Jam. Welcome to Pathways of Hope. Today's gospel reading comes from Matthew chapter 11, verses 11 to 15. And this is where Jesus is speaking about John the Baptist and saying, among those born of women, there is no one greater than John the Baptist. What is it that makes John the Baptist great? That makes Jesus speak about him in such a way? We want to take a look at the life that John the Baptist lived. His life was marked by two things or 2 points that we want to look at. The first is that his life was marked by sacrifice and death to self. In the Gospel of Matthew, we actually see Matthew says, "Now John wore a garment of camel's hair and a leather belt around his waist, and his food was locusts and wild honey." A pretty interesting fashion choice and diet decisions, but such was the life that John lived. He stripped his life down to the basics, down to simply what he needed in order to survive, in order to keep living, and in order to just be able to carry out the mission that was entrusted to him. He was marked by denial of self, by the denial of earthly desires, simply so that he can do what he needs to do. We also know that John the Baptist was imprisoned for standing against Herod, for standing up for what he believed to be right. And we also know that eventually he would be beheaded. So this was the life that John the Baptist lived. It was marked by sacrifice, by death to self. Second, John the Baptist also lived a life that it was simply about pointing others to Jesus, simply about preparing the way of the coming Messiah, which was Jesus. He is the voice crying out in the desert, "Prepare the way of the Lord." His life was all about calling people to repentance, so that they can be ready when Jesus comes. His life was all about this. It was about nothing more than the mission entrusted to him. He was referred to as Elijah who is to come, because even in Old Testament times, it was already promised that Elijah would return in order to prepare, to herald the coming Messiah. And this is the life of John the Baptist. It was all about that. It was all about preparing the way of the Lord, all about pointing people not to himself, but to Jesus, who can save them. So this is what makes John the Baptist great, and this is what makes Jesus speak of him in such a way. And today, the question for us is, what would it mean for my life to look like that? What would it mean for my life to be marked by sacrifice and death to self? And what would it look like if my life were all about pointing others towards Jesus Christ? A good thing to think about, especially this Advent season. May God bless you this season.